So many players start their paddle journey, they want to learn the sport, but they play socially with friends, they book a court and have a nice friendly game.
Yeah, and this video is for all of those players out there who have gone from it being purely social and now they want to beat their friends.
And we know what we were like. We started social, we had a little bit of fun on court at the beginning, right? But before long, it got competitive and we wanted to win.
Yeah, and there are some tips that you can take straight onto the court and you can use to start beating your friends. So let's jump into it right now. So we're the first ones to say that you can win matches by being consistent and patient, but you can also be aggressive and beat your friends by being attacking on the court.
Both of us are competitive, aren't we? We have our training partners that we compete against and we want to win. Yes, we may win by outlasting them, but it's much more enjoyable by beating them and smashing them off the court. So let's go to our first tip at the back.
So the first tip of 5, how to beat your mates, take us through it.
I mean, the first one is understand that from the back you can actually attack. So many players are behind this line and they're already thinking like lob, 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 defend, defend, defend from the back of the court, but there is a chance that you could attack.
Yeah, if you get lobbed, a lot of players run back and they either scoop or they think, I'm in defence now, but actually you can play a bahada and still attack them, can't you?
Yeah, and the key with that bahada is when you're running back, knowing you can attack, get behind that ball, and then you can be in a good position to immediately take advantage again. And that's something that I think is just a consideration thing.
And it also applies when your opponent's at the net and you pop a lob up and they run back and smack it at you. You've got to remember that ball is coming back off the glass, so you can then attack again, can't you?
And a big part of that is fighting the instinct, right? Particularly from tennis, you're immediately trying to block this ball before the back glass, when really, if you get used to allowing that ball off the glass, you can come in and attack them straight back and therefore immediately put them on the back foot again.
So we all want to be attacking, we all want to win the point, but you have to play within your capability, don't you?
Yeah, and part of this first tip is to understand that you can attack from the back, but it's understanding the right time to as well. At the pro level, they might be able to attack a ball from waist height off that back glass, but at a lower level, you might need an easier ball to play within your capability, and you might need a ball up here before you can attack. And so it's just understanding that when you're at the back of the court.
So let's jump into tip 2, which is transitioning.
Yeah, so we just talked about choosing the right ball that you could attack from the back. You also need to choose the right ball to go to net. So many players know that they need to be at net to win the point, and that is obviously the best way to attack in a point, but they end up hitting, rushing, getting into net, and then they make it halfway there and they end up losing the point.
Yeah, I think people think attack means get to net as fast as you can, and they know that they need to get to net, but it's not about rushing, is it?
No, and net rushing is exactly what we see tennis players do. They hit the ball and they try and charge up to net, and then they always end up out of position. So this phase is understanding this is a transition part of the court and hitting a ball that gives you and your partner time to come forward. So choosing the right ball to do that.
And there are many ways that you can transition to the net without rushing. The Chiquita, for example, is a shot that you can do that on.
Yeah, at the pro level, the Chiquita is a great shot to come forward. And this also ties back to what we said before about playing within your capability. At the pro level, they use Chiquita because they can hit it so well. They've got time to move up the court. At a lower level, the lob is probably the best option to give you and your partner time to come forward. But you don't rush forward after every lob. You need to see that it's a good enough lob first before you charge to net with your partner.
Yeah, a lot of recreational players don't realise how many lobs it might take for them to get to the net. It might be several lobs in a point. I mean, the pro players, they're playing 10, 12 lobs per point.
Yeah, and sometimes more. And I think it ties into that whole thing of patience. You know, we are talking about choosing the right ball, but it is patience. Patient with the lob. Choose the right lob and then transition. And then when you're at net, now you can finish the point.
So for all you tennis players out there who have come from tennis and are used to net rushing, forget about that. If you haven't beaten your friends by now with those 2 tips, this tip is the one that will beat your friends. So, and it's around the setup volley.
Yeah, so you've just hit a beautiful transition. You've got easily to the net with your partner. And so often players get up to net and they're like, I'm going to finish this immediately on that first ball. But really, if you can play the first ball as a setup volley, you are much more likely to have an easier opportunity to finish on the next ball. And it's just understanding that as soon as you come to net, it's not like I have to finish immediately on the first ball. It's just that tiny bit of patience, hit one setup ball, and you are probably going to have a better chance.
Players need to understand when they're at the net, they still potentially need to build the point. It's not the end of the point, like you say. So a lot of players come in and they think, that's it, it's over, but you still sometimes need to build that point from the net, don't you?
And sometimes you're defending from the net. And this is where this sport differs so much from tennis, for example, that you could play defensive volleys down by your feet or a block volley where you're defending at the net. So you just need to bear that in mind, that just because you've got here doesn't mean you're going to have an easy opportunity on that first ball. Now, if you do have an easy opportunity and it does float and it is soft, you can absolutely attack that ball. But anything else, play that setup volley, and that setup volley is, you know, a slow, controlled, low ball down the middle or into the corners.
Sandy, I want to talk to you about commitment.
Go for
but
it.
on the paddle court.
Okay.
All right. Tip 4, committing to the ball when you have that attacking opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of those that you get the easy ball, you set it up, you've transitioned nicely, you set the point up, you've got that easy ball, and you want to go for it, then go for it. So often you see players are in two minds and they end up kind of hitting in between and push it into the court, and then they end up, you know, losing the point. If you've got an opportunity and you want to finish the point, then 100% go for that finish.
Yeah, and I think if you look at tip 3, we talked about building the point. I think it's around, you're going to build the point, but when you get that opportunity, sometimes people think, oh, should I build one more shot? But actually, you have to make that commitment, don't you? When you think it's the right ball, then you have to go for it.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about committing to finishing the point, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hit that ball as hard as physically possible. Most of the time, a winner would be something that is fast with slice into the corners or past your opponent that's very difficult to defend. Remember, they have a glass behind them. So you just smacking it past them means that they can allow that rebound. And again, like we talked about with our first tip, potentially attack us back.
It's important to commit to that shot. And most of the time it will be an overhead, won't it? But for a lot of players, the technique of the overheads is really, really complicated, which is also why on our platform we have so many courses on the overheads.
Yeah, exactly. And we have courses on all of the shots from beginner, intermediate to advanced level. And I think if you can get better at the technique, you will be more accurate, more consistent, and therefore more likely to win those points. And we have another amazing feature that you could send in a video of your Vibra or your attacking smash, and us and our other coaches will analyze that and give you tips back, which is incredible. I mean, I don't know any other platforms that offer that service.
We've come to our final tip to beat your friends, and this is my favorite tip, I think, and it's about knowing your friends. How well do you know your friends, and how well do you know their games on the court?
I think it's their games on the court and also them as people and their mentality. And look, we've got friends and fellow players that we know if we can put them under pressure and we can make them play extra balls, they're going to get frustrated. And once they get frustrated, they have a go at their partner, and then both of the pair are struggling. Or we know that, you know, fitness plays a big role, and if they're unfit or they don't move so well, we can move them into spaces. And I think it's understanding your friends and who you're playing against, but also understanding how you can kind of capitalize on that and how you can win points by using your knowledge of your opponents.
This is particularly the case on big points, isn't it? If you think of golden point, usually someone's personality will come out in that. I'm thinking of the player that always wants to make the highlight reel. You get to a golden point and you put a lob up. Most likely, depending on their personality, if they really want to, you know, make that highlight reel, they'll probably go for a big smash, won't they? So it's anticipating that in advance. Yeah,
it's knowing if they're glory hunters and they're going for an incredible finish. And actually what you'll find is, I'm sure you out there are members of WhatsApp groups, and before your game in the evening, you're all WhatsApping each other, giving each other a bit of banter or a bit of stick about your game, trying to prod and you know, put some pressure on the game. And I mean, that's all kind of part of the, you know, the camaraderie of playing in a group. But on the court and off the court, if you can understand what makes players tick, then you can also understand how you will win points.
And if you're watching this video and your friends aren't watching this video, then you've got an advantage over them already.
Yeah, but please do share this with them.
Yeah, after the game.
Yeah.
Let us know which tip you use to beat your friends, or maybe you have another tip that hasn't been mentioned. Let us know in the comments.
And if you'd like to have a go on our platform, I'll put the link up here, and there's a 7-day free trial, so go check it out, check out our courses, post a video of your shots, and we can help you improve them. And then down here, we'll put a video about consistency as a tactic.